My name is Morgan.
And I'm Samantha.
And we're with the Marquette Messenger, and we're going to ask Dr. King some questions about Proposition S. How will Prop S affect community members' taxes?
That's a great question. First, I think it's important that everyone understand this is the first time that the school district's asked for something like this since 1994. This building was 1 year old. It's important that people really remember that. It's been a very, very long time. So on average, let's say a home were to be appraised at $400,000 a year. What this would mean is $29 of increased taxation on a monthly basis, which would equate to right around $342 a year. We don't take that ask lightly. We know it's a significant ask. And if we weren't at a point of criticality that said we had to do something that looked different, we wouldn't be before our community asking this question. And so we ask with all sincerity and humility, but we truly feel that when it comes to what's happening with our staffing, now is the time for Prop S.
Mm-hmm. If a community member has been approved for the St. Louis County Senior Property Tax Freeze, how will Prop S then affect their taxes?
For that member of the community that qualifies and has been approved for the senior tax freeze, the Rockwood portion of their tax bill would remain the same.
And then can you kind of explain how the Rockwood teacher salary schedule compares to the other school districts that are in the St. Louis area?
These are really good questions. That's a great question as well. What we're seeing is that we are falling further and further behind. So a beginning teacher in the Rockwood School District would start somewhere right around 17th out of 22 comparable school districts in the county, and someone that was beginning with a master's degree would begin somewhere right around 16th compared to other school districts in the county. It just speaks to how competitive the market is, but it also speaks to where we're falling in comparison to other school districts, and it makes a difference. We know that this makes a difference for our staff, our teachers, but also all staff within our school district on a monthly basis, and we know we have to do something that looks different.
Yeah. And on that note, how does Rockwood's pay for other employee groups compared to other St. Louis area districts?
It will drastically change from employee group to employee group itself, and we actually have some answers on our FAQ document that appears on our district website, but you can see where we're falling in rankings compared to other school districts. But we have a pretty consistent message. We are not able to keep up when it comes to the pay of our salaries for employee groups. Again, it all takes us back to why we're talking about Proposition S and it being on the ballot.
Yeah.
So what does expanded benefits for more staff mean?
We have a number of employee groups that simply don't qualify for full-time benefits. And what we want to do is eliminate that. We want to make sure, regardless of classification or grouping of employees, we're able to close that gap and provide the benefits that all staff need. Healthcare costs are not decreasing in any way, shape, or form. And again, and ultimately, if our goal is to ultimately remain competitive, we've got to close these gaps for these employee groups as well.
Yeah. And then, so is the plan for all full-time employees to be eligible for standard benefits? And what will that cost?
Yes, so it's going to cost us just over $3.5 million. Again, we've got a question that's on the FAQ document that speaks to this explicitly, but there will be a cost that's associated with us closing this gap. But we know that it's needed to take folks that are working full-time or full-time equivalent to making sure that we're able to provide them the benefits that they need.
So I know that bus drivers just received a 3-year contract. Will they have to wait 3 years to receive benefits if Prop S passes?
So let's assume that Prop S does in fact pass. We would adjust the tax rate in September of 2026 and ultimately begin to receive those proceeds in January of 2027. We would make adjustments once we knew the prop in fact had passed. We begin to have those conversations and take steps to moving forward with the benefits components that we've discussed.
How will this directly impact students in Rockwood? Talk to us about why students should care about Prop S.
Students should care about Prop S because as much fantastic brick and mortar that we have in the school district, this library, the expansion and improvement of the science wings here at Marquette High School are amazing. And the brick and mortar is very, very important. The most important factor, what happens for students, is the interaction between staff and ultimately the students themselves. whether that is the teacher in the classroom, quite honestly, the assistant principals and principals that are in our schools, it's our child nutrition staff, it's our bus drivers. Every employee group is essential to either directly impact or support what is happening within our schools themselves. So the goal of Prop S is that what our students will see is consistency, or more consistency of staffing, and more connection as a result of having bodies that are here and we're able to retain those staff members themselves. The longer we are together and glued together, so to speak, the better and the stronger we're going to be as a school district.
Yeah.
If the proposition passes, how will the money be distributed?
It's really important that everyone understand what we will engage in is a comparative analysis of where employee groups are standing in comparison to other like employee groups elsewhere in the county. So that doesn't necessarily mean that every employee group will see the exact same bump of pay. But what it does mean is we will compare the resources that we have compared to where our staff are in fact ranking depending upon the positions that they happen to work in. That's going to be a process, but it's going to be one that's absolutely essential. We have some folks that are fighting against federal minimum wage in terms of what we're able to offer them as it relates to salary right now, and we know that has to improve.
Can you walk us through the timeline for implementing these changes if Prop S passes?
Sure. So it would be the tax rate that's set in September of 2026 that ultimately impacts the proceeds that we see by January of 27. Once that's in place, that's when we begin to have those conversations of making the changes to different collectively bargained agreements or different pay rates for our staff members.
What will the future of Rockwood look like if it doesn't pass?
To be frank, mathematically speaking, we'll be in a position where we'll be increasingly less competitive. I have zero belief that other school districts are going to remain flat. And so what will happen is we'll very likely continue to fall behind what is happening. There are increasing pressures with both state and federal funds, and so we have to make sure that we're able to control the variables that we can. And for us, that's going to be at the local level. That competition of salaries for employee groups is likely to continue to hurt the Rockwood School District, and that benefits conversation. There is no magic switch that we're going to be able to flip without additional proceeds. And so I don't envision a number of really positive scenarios if that's in fact the case. We will ultimately do what we have to do, but we know that the need is real, and that's why Prop S is before our community and on the ballot.
Yeah. And then those were all of our questions.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you would like to add or something that you want community members to know about Prop S?
Just as I said earlier, we don't take this lightly. This is a very proud school district and very proud communities that make up the Rockwood School District. It's an honor for us to all be employees within the school district. We aren't going to jump to the head of the pack as a result of this proposition in fact passing. What we do want to do is ultimately to remain competitive and continue to keep adding the services, ultimately the educational experience that our students are able to receive. Personally speaking, you are two young ladies that are going to graduate in a disturbingly short number of months. Right? Both are interested in the field of education. I would love to, in 4 years, be able to be in a position where you have graduated and you're coming back to do teacher orientation in a very familiar set of situations, having been students in the school district. But it would be an honor to be able to welcome you back to the Rockwood School District as new teachers here in the Rockwood School District.
That would be wonderful.
Yes.
Thank you so much for that and for your time today. We really appreciate you coming out here to give us these answers. And we know the community does too.
I appreciate your curiosity and your interest in this because it's very, very important. So thank you for your time as well. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Me
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.